Welcome to the Introduction to Microsoft Dynamics SL 2015. My name is Jeff Suen. I am the Microsoft Dynamics SL Product Marketing Manager for Microsoft Dynamics SL. What that involves is I create the sales tools for our Dynamics partners so they can present the great information about the latest and greatest releases of Dynamics SL. I present webinars and at events for Microsoft on Microsoft Dynamics SL. And the fun part of my job is I work with customers and partners on what are those new features that we need to include in the latest and greatest versions of Microsoft Dynamics SL. I've been working with Microsoft Dynamics SL for over 18 years, and my background is on the consulting side, so I've installed it before, and working in custom development as well. Today, the courses that we have are going to be two different modules. We're going to go through the Dynamics SL overview, and then the second course modules that we're going through will be the basic elements of using Microsoft Dynamics SL. So the first time we'll kind of get you introduced to some of the things that it can do at a very high level, and then we'll give you some of the basics of how do you get around in Dynamics SL before you start using the product. Our targeted audience is one for brand new customers who might be interested in learning more about Dynamics SL 2015 and how it could possibly work as a solution for their company. Second, we're going to focus on new customers who have just started or have not quite started using the product yet, and they want to get themselves familiar with the product. As far as suggested prerequisites, some basic information around financials would be great, as well as some basic computer and Windows skills. So let's get started with Module 1, Microsoft Dynamics SL 2015 Overview. So what we're going to go through in this area is we're going to go through an introduction. We're going to go through the industry focus of Dynamics SL, just to give you some examples. We're going to talk about some of the modules and functionality that come with the product, but before we do that, I want to kind of give you an idea of how we lay out our modules. We'll then go through some integrations. What does SL connect with besides working with inside of the product itself? How do we share information with Microsoft Dynamics SLs with others in the company, as well as our multi-company functionality and deployment options. So let's talk about Microsoft Dynamics SL. For more than 25 years, Microsoft Dynamics SL has delivered the functionality, performance, and ease of use to diverse businesses around the world. From the need of financials and distribution to service and project, Microsoft Dynamics SL brings people and systems together to help run their businesses more efficiently. Microsoft Dynamics SL is designed to empower your people to be more productive and your systems to last longer, with the ability to scale to accommodate growth while delivering the insight you need to respond quickly in an ever-changing world of business. Today's business landscape is changing at an ever-increasing pace. To stay ahead, you need a business management solution that is designed to help you meet evolving demands. Microsoft Dynamics SL delivers the agility you need to adapt to new business processes and extend functionality quickly, making it easier to enter new markets, add capabilities, or reallocate existing investments. So what we're going to talk about now is about our industry focus. So on the screen now, you're going to see a listing of a couple of different areas that we focus on. So the first that we're going to talk about is professional services. Now, professional services is kind of a wide range, but it's usually project focused. So if you are internally or externally sending people out to be on site or do installations, and you need to be able to track their time, their expense against something, well, that's what I consider to be professional services. So if we look at our list, professional service kind of is used across a lot of these different industries. We also focus a lot on our government contractors. They need to be able to track the information and be able to pass the appropriate audits to be able to work with the government, and we have the solutions inside of Dynamics SL to do that. The next industry would be construction. So many construction areas need to be able to track their information as they're doing their projects, and that's where we're able to show that information as well as other areas as well. We also work in distribution. We have a distribution process that makes it very easy to do order management and fulfill a lot of things. And we also do for service. So if you actually distribute and sell something, so the idea of you're going to sell something, and then maybe you're using the professional services side to actually implement what you're selling. And then once you get it installed, you want to actually be able to service the items that you have installed. Well, You know what that means is we can actually handle all of those areas. And that's the nice thing about Microsoft Dynamics SL, is its flexibility. We not only can focus on one of those different areas, the product is flexible to go across all those different areas. So if you're financials, distribution, project, we have the ability inside Microsoft Dynamics SL to do a wide variety of different things. Next thing we're going to do is actually we're going to go through a listing of just some of those modules. So if you're listening and kind of wondering, well, did they do this? We're going to go through and talk about just some of the modules we have. But with that, we're going to talk about our module layout just so you get an idea of, well, what am I seeing on the screen? When we have a module like a general ledger or accounts payable, we're going to break it out into different areas. The first step, we're going to break it out into something called maintenance. So these are the screens. We're setting up vendors, we're setting up customers, we're setting up accounts. So that's what the idea of the maintenance area. So if we're in a module and there's some type of setup screen, that's what we're going to have there. The next section we're going to have is the input screens. So if I'm entering information into the system, we're doing input, we're entering in a general ledger transaction or a voucher in an invoice. That's where that input section is going to be. The next is, now that we've got the data into the system, we need to be able to process it sometimes, whether it's allocating things or moving things around. Then we have our process ability that allows us to process that information that we've entered into the system. The next that we have is our inquiry screens. So now that the data is inside of there, how do we view it and pull it up to review it at a later time? So that's where our inquiries come. The next is that we have our setup screens. Obviously, these are things you're going to do first, but the setup screens allow us to set up the modules, to set up defaults and things that we're going to use throughout the rest of the module. Then the last thing we're having is a reporting area, and that's where we have the reports that allow us to view the things that we've set up in the system, but more importantly, view the transactions inside of the system to make sure everything is going the way we expect it to be. So that gives you kind of the idea of that module layout idea. Now we're going to go ahead and start talking just about all those different modules that we have inside of Dynamics SL. So the first one that we're going to talk about is the general ledger. General ledger, I'm assuming you understand the basics, but it's the idea of that basically everything's going to flow to your general ledger. It's kind of that central accounting module where, whether it's payables, receivables, or any of the other modules, that data is eventually going to flow into your general ledger and keep the information inside there that you need. Now inside there, we're setting up what we call accounts, be able to do our revenue, what expenses that we have against these accounts. So we set up our different types of accounts, and we set up what we also have something called sub-accounts that allow us to give us a little bit more detail on exactly, is this particular account for a specific department, division, location, and so forth. So that's where we're keeping that information. We can enter in transactions as well as being able to view information about our account history and account balances. The next module that we have out there is the accounts payables. Of course, with payables, the idea is it's around vendors. So I have a vendor, I need to be able to set them up. I need to be able to go ahead and be able to pay them. So we need to be able to have the information set up there. And if I'm going to pay them and cut a check for them, do I have the right cash requirements set up in the system so I can actually pay them? So we're going to allow you to set up your vendors, enter the things that you need to pay, see where you are as far as your cash flow to be able to pay them, and then eventually be able to pay them. The next is around the accounts receivable module. Well, we talked about vendors, so let's also talk about customers. We like to receive that money as well, and it is flexible and available to work with to function the way that you need it. So we're going to be able to take those invoices, maintain your accounts receivable information, see how your customers are, make sure they are paying you on time, and keep that information available to you to view and eventually receive your payments. Now, to help manage both of those sections a little easier, we have a cash management module, which will take information from payables, from receivables, and also from general ledger, and be able to give you a great view of the information. Now, the thing about our cash management module, it allows you to see at any point in time, how are we doing cash-wise? Whether it's receivables or payables, it's all in one module for you to view. The next is, well, we also want to be able to have payroll, and the payroll functionality is built into Microsoft Dynamics SL as well, to be able to give you the ability to set up benefit administrations, set up predictable and timely processes, and be able to have flexible capabilities that allow you to operate faster, smarter, and more profitable. So the idea here is we'll be able to set up what are those exemptions, who are the salary employees, who's hourly, all that information and be able to set up all the things that you need to track against those specific people. We also, with the payroll, have the ability to do direct deposits. So if you need that functionality, we can do that as well. Now, for those of you working in the union areas and you need some things around potentially labor or time collection, that's a little bit different than standard. You do have that with our advanced payroll module. You're able to put in true labor costs, meet time-sensitive government reporting requirements, provide flexible deduction and benefits, and most importantly, pay your employees accurately and on time. The next is we have the financial statement translation. So what this allows us to do is isolate, evaluate, and eliminate the impact of currency fluctuations on your business operations. So this flexible and integrated module helps you to dramatically improve month-end and closing processes by performing necessary currency translations and automatically calculating gains, losses due to rate fluctuations. So if you are using those multi-currency needs, this is a great module to be able to view that information. Now the next thing that's nice that comes with Microsoft Dynamics SL is our Project Controller module. Now the big thing about Project Controller is obviously this is where we set up our projects. These are where we set up all the tasks associated with our projects, which can be few or as many as you need, and be able to set up the accounting information around that project. Now once we have our projects and tasks set up, we can then start assigning resources to this project. Great thing about it, this is kind of the core of it. We'll talk about the other modules inside of the project area that feed it, but this is the core. This is where your financial information is being stored and then passed on to the appropriate modules that it needs to go to. Now the big thing about the Project Controller module is this is not really an add-on, meaning the ability to enter a project and a task does not just exist in this Project Controller module. It's available in General Ledger, Accounts Payable, Accounts Receivable, Purchasing, Continue. It's available across all of the modules that we'll talk about today. So that's the big thing about it. If you need to be able to track anything, no matter the module, you're going to have the ability to record it against a project and a task inside of the Dynamics SL modules. Now, along with Project Controller is an allocation process that's built in with the Project Controller. Now, what this will allow you to do is to gain precise control over project financials. What it allows you to do is create these flexible and multi-tiered different allocation processes that you need to set up that reflect the wide spectrum of labor rates, billing structures that you might need in the project arena. Then it will automatically allocate those charges and revenues and also account for any work in process, transfer or consolidate transactions, and record accurate data for billing and posting to your general ledger accounts. So very, very important process because it's not just as simple as putting things in and taking things out. Allocations are a key part of being able to handle all your project needs. The next is flexible billings. We need to be able to provide the information that's in Dynamics SL as it flows through into the project area. We need to be able to help shorten billing cycles and improve cash flow by taking control of unbilled receivables and converting them quickly into revenue. So we've streamlined the invoicing with automatic generation of invoices, the ability to create your own formatting and submission of drafts for approval before they go out the door, before you actually start billing people, and then easily note needed corrections, finalize your invoice, and post them to receivables. So flexible billing is a key part of being able to work with the project modules. Also budgeting. You would expect you need to be able to set up for that project and for those tasks that you have in the system. What are the budgets against that? Financial-wise, to be able to track against them and show exactly whether your project has been profitable or maybe it hasn't, and you need to revisit and see exactly what might have gone wrong in that project to come back at a later time. The next is contract management. Well, if you work with subcontractors, you know the need to be able to set them up in the system and keep track of the information. So it's going to help you speed up your interactive with your subcontractors. It's going to improve control over change orders, document tracking, and also subcontractor disbursements. It can help ensure that timely completion of your projects as well as enhancing your cash flow. And you can also boost your project profitability by keeping track of this information through the contract management module. The next is the analyzer for project information. It's going to allow us to look at our estimate at completion and our forecast at completions around our projects and see really how we stand. We can see to the information on a project net profit or a task net profit, bunch of different areas to be able to see, again, financially, and to drill into more information to see exactly how we're doing on our projects. Now, with most projects, you're going to want to put your time and expenses against them. So we have a full time and expense module here as well. So be able to put in your time against the different projects you're working on, be able to put your expenses on it, and be able to, of course, approve those time and expenses. So you kind of can see things that are in the system, that are being entered, things that have been approved, and see how they go ahead and impact your your projects in Microsoft Dynamics SL. The next is resource management. Resource management allows us to go ahead and look at the utilization and set up utilization rates for people. So maybe it's that I need to go ahead and set up that 70% or 60% is the rate that we need to maintain. Set that up in the system and be able to track against it. You know, how many hours are these people working against the percentage that we told them that we needed to be maintained being billable. Now, Enhancement 2 that's coming out, the Enhancement 2 in SL 2015 is the ability to view this information, be able to view the projects that are available, and also assign resources to those projects through a nice web interface, as well as being able to view the projects and see which resources are available to assign to them as well. Next is purchasing. Well, if we're going to have things out there, whether it's for projects or not, we need to be able to purchase items to be able to sell them. So the purchasing module allows us to put purchase orders against our vendors, go ahead and receive against them, and exactly see where we are between the receiving, and once we're receiving, to be able to move it over to payable so we can actually pay them. And we allow you to track the information, what's been put into the system, what's been received, and which received have been invoiced and have been received, so we actually pay them, and be able to do a three-way matching between those processes of being able to receive it, invoice it, and pay it. So you can get that checking to see exactly where do we stand in the whole process of making a purchase order. Now, where purchase orders are straight direct contacts with your vendors, we're just putting things to send them out and get information to them, like the ability to automatically email or fax a purchase order right to that vendor. There's also a need for requisitioning. Now, the idea behind requisitioning is it's opening up the idea of requesting something to the whole company. Well, in the past, it might have been that you actually had a piece of paper that you wrote on and said, I need this item, and got people to sign off on it. The idea is that's not probably the best way to do things, and that with the requisition module, we can use it to enter a request as an end user. I'm not going to be a financial person, but I'm going to be the person just needing these items for a project or needing these items for my department. I can put the request into the system, get it approved by my manager, and then move it into the purchasing process. So the whole requisition module is kind of a preemptive or the precursor to the purchasing module. The next is our order management module. Very, very in-depth order management module, which allows you to basically create custom steps. We're all affiliate or understand the idea of placing an order. So someone calls in, we've got someone on the phone, they put in the items, type them into a screen, and move forward. This kind of takes it beyond that step because we can create your own custom order steps that you want everyone to follow. You can create different order types, different steps that need to be taken to make sure that the information coming through into the system is validated, or also to make sure that it goes through a certain process that you want it to before it goes out the door. The nice thing about this, it can be set up to automatically create the shipments that you need for your orders. You can be able to view that information. So it's a great way to, and the nice thing about it is this is something that can be used standalone as an order management, but can also be used with our project modules as well. Well, if you're going to be ordering things, you might assume that, of course, we're going to have inventory. So you want to be able to set up your inventory. Inventory management can be set up within here to be able to set it up by sites. We can even get down to keeping track of inventory items by their sites, by their bin location. So all the things that you would expect to be able to keep track of orders, incoming stocks, returns, back orders, surplus inventory, dead stock. Being able to look at all that inventory items. Other things it can do as well is it will allow you to keep track of things that are being assigned to specific projects. So if you are using those project modules, you can assign inventory to the projects to make sure that other people aren't using, and only the people that are using the inventory items have access rights to these specific projects that have been assigned to them. Next is our e-commerce connector. If you are using inventory or purchasing and you need to connect to outside areas using the EDI functionality, we do have an e-commerce connector. It's the built-in software that allows you to get the data out to a file that can be used by some type of EDI translation software, as well as taking that EDI information and importing it back into Dynamics SL. If you're doing that, then also you need type of shipping label management. So the shipping management module will allow you to go ahead and pack and put the information together about what we're shipping to people to be able to then interact with the shipping label product to be able to create those shipment labels and put them on the items and ship them out the door. The next is our inventory replenishment. So you've got the inventory, you're going to need to replenish it sometimes. Well, while the basic inventory module will allow you to see exactly where you stand on it, if you have the need for detailed inventory replenishment, we have that as well, where you can get as detailed as you want, setting up all the different areas that you need to, the different stocking levels. And as you set that information, you can start automating your purchase process to make sure that you're keeping on top of the items that you need to have in stock to fulfill orders as you move forward. We also have a work order module. It helps you streamline the planning and handling of your work orders so you can control costs and maximize profits. They're easy to implement, easy to use. The work order helps plan and track product item costs and keep general ledger accounts and inventory quantities seamlessly integrated and in balance, something very important when you're creating something in work orders. We also have bill of materials. Our bill of material allows us to define, analyze, and manage your company's products within the bill of materials. There are three important features that are included in it: the idea of bill of materials, production routing, and product costing. All those provide support for costing and production of manufactured and assembled goods. So the bill of material modules in Dynamics SL provides functionality to help you create bill of materials and routings for finished goods and sub-assemblies to compute their standard cost and revalue their existing inventory. The next is moving into our service area, and the service area allows us to track the items that we sell. So the service area can be used for many different areas, whether it's HVAC or just the actual sale of something that we want to track. The first one is our equipment maintenance screen, and we are allowed to set up our equipment into the system, be able to track exactly what's going on, track maintenance, any unscheduled maintenance that's going to happen to the item. So we can set up our items and be able to track and automate our work order process for these equipment that's out there. It's allowing you to for your maintenance departments to generate work orders for more quickly and accurately tracking work orders, and also to define criteria. The next is our service dispatch. So if you've decided to set up these items within the system that you have them out there and you want to start dispatching people inside of your company or people that you send out externally, you're going to use the service dispatch module, which provides a flexible capabilities to be able to see where your technicians are at, and it gives you a graphical interface to see where they're at, what items that they're working on, which locations they're at. So it allows you to keep track of exactly what's happening with your employees or service people that are out in the field working on the items that you're servicing. The next is our service contracts. Well, if you have equipment, you've sold it, you want to be able to set up an agreement with somebody. In the HVAC world, of course, that's the agreement that we're going to come out and service your items on a yearly basis or quarterly basis, whichever you have. So inside this module, you can set up all that different information. So you can go ahead and make sure that you're setting up your service contracts, making sure you're keeping on top of the items, and making sure that your customers are happy with the service that you're providing. The next one is the flat rate pricing. Flat rate pricing allows us to take full control over flat rate in your flat rate control in your organizations. Allows you to inspire more customer confidence if you're using the idea of a flat rate pricing process. This is a kind of a standard use, and it's now easier than ever to set up flat rate pricing inside of your product. So we can go ahead and define those flat rate prices and be able to process any updates that you have in the system as well. So that kind of gives you a quick run through. Hopefully you saw some information in here that excites you about some of the great functionality. Again, this is high level. The next thing we're going to do is kind of jump to the next, which is integrations. We'll talk about some areas that we connect to some of the Microsoft products that are out there, including Office 365, and other Dynamics products, including Microsoft Dynamics CRM, Microsoft Project Server, as well as new ways to access Microsoft Dynamics SL information through our Microsoft Dynamics SL web apps. So the first thing we'll talk about are what are some of the other items that you would expect, of course, Microsoft Dynamics SL to integrate with. So let's talk about some of the items that we have out there. Now, of course, we integrate with Microsoft Office, whether that's Excel or other areas of it. We're allowed to get information out of your financial systems into Excel. The other area that we like to focus on is the idea of sharing information. Now, what a very important area of this would be around our SharePoint functionality. Now, what SharePoint allows you to do in the Microsoft world is be able to share information with others with inside your company or outside of it. And we allow you to automatically take data from SL, put it on that SharePoint site so you can share it with the appropriate people in your company. The next area is we interact with other Microsoft products like Microsoft Lync. Now, for those of you who might not be familiar, Microsoft Lync is our communication product inside of Microsoft, and it allows us to chat, video chat, share our screens, and so forth. And with some of our functionality in Microsoft Dynamics SL in the Business Analyzer, it allows us to automatically interact with Lync, to be able to talk about things we're seeing on our screen or things that we're analyzing, to work together and to hopefully come to a solution to a problem. Next area that we work with, Microsoft Project. Microsoft Dynamics SL is a project-based solution that works across many different industries, and one of the areas we do integrate with is Microsoft Project. So information from Microsoft Project can be entered and connected to Dynamics SL information as well. And last, we integrate with Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Now, Microsoft Dynamics CRM is a perfect addition to your Dynamics SL product. It allows you to keep track of customer information. So as you're going out and getting more customers or more information, what it allows you to do is as you build those customers up, you can pass them over as they become real customers and not just prospects, and pass that information over to Microsoft Dynamics SL and not have to do duplicate entry. So great information there. We'll take a look at actually some of these things live. So as far as our integration with other areas, Office 365 is a very popular item. What we do is some of the built-in features to Dynamics SL can work with those directly. We have features like Grid to Excel, which allows us to take data from a Dynamics SL screen and put it right into an Excel document, or data from a query and to put it right into Excel as a refreshable query. The next is our DocShare feature, and DocShare is our interaction with SharePoint that allows us to upload documents directly to a SharePoint site. We also work with our Upload to SharePoint product, which Upload to SharePoint product, feature allows us to take reports and automatically upload them to SharePoint. And then our last feature that we work with, the Office 365 and SharePoint type features, is our Attachments feature, which allows you to attach any document, Word, Excel, whatever type of document you might have, attach it to a Dynamics SL screen because it might have pertinent information related to something that you've entered in the system, and we can share that. Now, we work with Office 365, and we also work with one of the features of Office 365, the SharePoint Online feature. Now, as far as our connection to Dynamics CRM, just to give you a little bit more information about why CRM might be important to you. Now, the first is with Dynamics CRM, it is used for small companies or large companies, and it's used by people that are going to be interacting with your customer base. Whether these are prospects that you're trying to work with, or these are existing customers that you're keeping tabs on and making sure that we're making proper contact. Microsoft Dynamics CRM gives you the flexibility to work with it, whether it's in-house or online, to be able to get to the information, make sure everyone's aware of what's going on with that customer. Now, where does Microsoft Dynamics SL work in there? Well, customers. Obviously, information from CRM is about customers, and SL, we have customer information as well. And what we're allowed to do with our connector for Dynamics is connect those two together. So that means that information put into your CRM system will flow right into your customer information inside of SL. And any updates can go back and forth. So it's not a, hey, did you update my customer? I made some changes. Basic information around that customer, around shipping or billing information or address information can flow back and forth between the two. Next, as far as our Project Server area goes, one of the things of Project Server is it allows you to set up your projects and the tasks that you're going to associate to all of your different projects that are out there. Well, we have that same idea here in Microsoft Dynamics SL. So what we're allowed to do is be able to let your project managers work in Microsoft Project to set up those tasks, assign those resources, and we can share that information across. So with Microsoft Dynamics SL, we also have inside here the ability that we've got information about our accounting information, about our resources, about our projects. And what we can do here is connect them together using the Microsoft Project Connector. So it gives you a great opportunity to allow people to still work in a Microsoft project, but also reduce the amount of redundant data coming from Microsoft Project Server. That's going to be the same type of information you want to set up in Microsoft Dynamics SL. So it's a great marriage of those two bits of information. Next one we'll talk about is a way to access information, which is the Microsoft Dynamics SL web apps. Now, web apps provide people a way to get access to the information, whether it's on their smartphone, whether it's on their tablet, as well as, of course, working on their desktop. Now, more and more, that's where we work. We've got our smartphones attached to us or our tablets, and that's where we want to be able to work. So right now, what we have available in our web apps are a lot of that same project functionality. So as of the release of SL 2015, the majority of your project functionality will be available via your tablet, smartphone, but of course the same is available on your on your desktop as well. So this is a great bit of functionality that we've added, and this continues to evolve and be added across. So as it'll the financial areas, distribution, other areas of the product as well. So web apps provide you that nice interface. Let's take a look at kind of what they look like, a couple screenshots of it. So for example, if you are doing time entry, what it allows us to do is be inside a screen to be able to see all the projects that have been assigned to us and be able to go in and then start entering our time. Again, built to work on a desktop as well as a tablet or a smartphone. It is built to be touch sensitive, so we can go in, click on to enter our time, click on buttons to get into more detailed information. Now, as well as being able to do time, just as an example, we can also do expense. It allows us to put our expense reports. And the nice thing about the expense functionality is it also interacts with your smartphone or tablet. So if you have that device and you want to go ahead and take a picture of your actual receipt that you're working on, no problem. We allow you to do attachments right on the fly. So what that means to you is that you're able to do your, in this particular case, your project time entry, project expense entry, all on the device of your preference without having to go back to a desktop or open up your laptop. You can do it right on your smartphone if you want to, so you have that flexibility. We also provide informational about how things are going within the financial areas. In this case, we're looking at a project information in our project analyst. It's showing us exactly our information financially. We can drill down and get more details. But again, I can do this on my tablet or on my desktop as well. Now, another area around Microsoft Dynamics SL is how do we allow you to share information? So, of course, we've got screens inside of Dynamics SL that we can make sure the people who need them can get access rights to them. But you might say, you know what, I'm not really interested in pushing data outside, and how do I share information with other people inside my company? And we'll talk real briefly about just two of the options that you have with inside of Microsoft Dynamics SL. So the two that we're going to talk about here is our Quick Query and our Business Analyzer feature. Now, what is Quick Query? Well, it's basically a tool that allows us to query the information in our SL database. It allows us to do filters, sorts. We can add columns on the fly, remove things, whatever we need to do. We can be able to basically take the information on the screen and make it ours. The next thing about this is once we filter and sort down to the information that we need to possibly answer a question or create a report that we want, we're allowed to then take that data and export it out to Excel. Now, the important thing here is that we can either create a static bit of data, which is just copying the data in our screen, or we can actually export that data out to Excel to create what we call a refreshable Excel document. That means once I get the data right the way I like it, I can put it out to Excel and make it refreshable so I never actually have to export that data again. The refreshing process will allow me to open up that Excel document at any time and refresh it to make sure the data and the information I'm viewing is up to date. We also support the idea of creating pivot tables. So we can take data from these quick queries and create a pivot table, again, all refreshable. So it's a great bit of functionality to get the data, whether it's in SL, to get it out to share it with other people. Now, as far as what we come with the product, well, we ship over 100 queries out of the box, but the nice thing about this functionality is it's not limited. It is using some basic technology of SQL queries in the background that can be added. You can add as many as you want, create your own custom queries, have custom queries because you might have a third-party product installed and you want to be able to review that information as well. No problem, you can do that with the quick query functionality. This is just a quick look at the view, and we'll look at this in our second. We'll actually open up the screens and look at them, but just a kind of an idea of how the interface allows us. So you can run the interface with inside of Microsoft Dynamics SL 2015, or you can also access it via web browser. So if you are running one of our web apps, you can run a web app to actually view this information and do the same things that we're going to show you in our next area of being able to view and query and get down to the data that you need. The next is, well, we have information in our system. That's great. In some cases, I do want to export the data and put into Excel because that's the people that I'm giving to. I want them to have access rights to it. But sometimes there's data that, well, we need that higher level. We need those KPIs or bits of information that we want to be able to share with people. And I'm not really interested in having them come into Microsoft Dynamics SL. And that is completely understood. So what we have here is that a lot of times we have people who want the information and we have people that have the information. So we have that stack of information inside of our financial system. So what we've come up with is a product called the Business Analyzer. And the Business Analyzer allows you to create those graphical KPI interfaces to be able to show it to people and say, yep, hey, you need information on sales order, you need information on your projects. Great, we're going to provide you with this nice little dashboard that shows you the information. So we can see it at a high level. They can see it. In this case, there's some items that are red that might grab their attention. And they're available to use the Business Analyzer to drill down to the details to get the information. Now, the Business Analyzer can run on many different platforms. It runs on Windows 7, which is the previous screenshot I showed you. This is the latest and greatest Windows 8 version. You can see things have changed, have been updated to take advantage of the Windows 8 interface. And it can also be run on a Windows Phone as well. So you have many different ways to access your Microsoft Dynamics SL data using the Business Analyzer. And it's a great way to disseminate your information out to the people. And it's nice, the security, of course, built into it to allow the people who need to see information to have access to the information. Now, this brings up a point that I want to bring up is that you might say, okay, the Business Analyzer looks great. We ship over 30 or 40 different Business Analyzer reports, but what happens when I need something that's not in the system? Now, the technology, so to speak, behind the Business Analyzer is just straight SQL Server Reporting Services reports, or as they're called, SSRS reports. Nothing special, nothing that you have to go out and buy a third party to have. If you've got Dynamics SL installed, you have SQL installed and you can take advantage of that. So many people ask, that's great, we love that ability, but what if I take some great information and I see these quick queries that you've created? What if I want to take that information and turn it into a report that can be shown on the Business Analyzer? And I'm happy to say we have a bit of functionality that actually helps you do that. And we'll just take a quick look at the idea of how this works. So, of course, as soon as you put out the Business Analyzer and you have this great information, the first thing is you're going to question on, well, what about this type of information? And of course, that's the first thing people ask, is something that you might not have right out of the box. We're happy to say that we can take that quick query functionality that's in the system that allows you to sort and select your Dynamics SL information and create the information that you need. And you can use a built-in wizard that will walk you through the process of creating all the reports that you need to put it out on Business Analyzer. It can create the detail report. It can create the summary report and what I call the pretty picture report or KPI report that you can have to be able to present up on the Business Analyzer and provide that information with the people who need it. So our end result here, we can go ahead and take that simple quick query, which is a bunch of data, and turn it into a nice looking report that we can look at customer balances and see if there's anything out there that catches our eye that we need to look into. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about inside of Dynamics SL is we've talked about a lot of different features, but one of the things that people use Dynamics SL a lot for is its multi-company functionality. So we'll talk real quickly here about there's support for multi-company and then how we can actually quickly change from one company to the other. Now, the one thing is just to make the mention that we do have that support. You can have we have a multi-company module set up in the system, and what it's going to allow us to do is set up in the system that we have maybe a primary company ABC, but we might have subsidiary companies DEF and XYZ in the company. And it might be that ABC is our primary company, but we do have these other subsidiaries that we want to roll information up to. The great thing about it is within Microsoft Dynamics SL, that idea of company is available to you wherever you're at, whether you're in AP, GL, AR, any of the other modules. The idea of project is there, and you can go ahead and choose what type of transaction you're putting against that project. The nice thing about it is it will go ahead and make sure that all that information flows back and forth between there, doing our intercompany transactions and being able to get that information from one company to the other. There's many different ways you can set up how you do your multi-company, but one of the ways you could do it is setting up one database And within your one database, you can have as many different companies as you want. Or it may make more sense that you actually want to segregate things and have different companies having their own application databases. Either way, we'll be able to work with them. Now, a question is, okay, multi-company sounds great, but how do I get between one company or another? And we'll show this live. But the nice thing about it is switching through a company is simply a drop-down box. So we'll take a look at the menu here in our next demonstration. But here, it's as simple as clicking on a drop-down box, clicking on one of the different companies that have been defined for us. And as soon as we click that button, it changes us to the other company. So it's an easy ability to change from one company to another. It's a one-touch click, and we're able to move from one company to another. So multi-company does not have to be something that you fear or how we're going to be able to get between these companies. The nice thing about it is when you set up in the system, you go in there, you get to see the companies that you belong to. Looking back in the screen, the nice thing about it as well is if I only have access to one of the companies that we've defined, that's all I'm going to see in my list here. But if I have access to all the different companies, that's what I'm going to see. So it cuts down people wondering, oh, hey, I see you have a distribution company. If I don't have access to rights to it, I'm not going to see it and not be able to change between it. So it's a great way to keep people from wondering or seeing things that they don't need to see. Now, the next thing we'll talk about in this brief overview is your power, or what we're saying, the power of choice. With Microsoft Dynamics SL, you have many different ways you can deploy it and many different ways that you can access it. So let's take a look at some of those. So the common way that people would go ahead and implement Microsoft Dynamics SL in the past would be the on-premise idea. And this is the idea that you have your own software, your own hardware, and you want to deploy the software out to your specific hardware. Now, other options are you can use a hosted solution. This is where you can work with one of Microsoft Dynamics SL's partners to actually have it hosted up in the cloud for you and provide you a way to get access to it. Or we also support Azure. So if you're interested in Azure, we can host Dynamics SL through Azure as well. So you have different ways to host that. Now, the big thing here is that you're owning your own data. It is your database. It is your information that you're owning. The next thing is your power of choice of how are you going to access that. We'll take a look about it in a little bit about how, in the next module, about how the interface looks and feels, but you have different ways that you can interact with it. So we showed a couple screenshots of our web app functionality. Again, web apps is that ability to actually go in using your tablet or smartphone to get to the data. We also have what we call our remote desktop client, and that is basically being able to host something and remote into the Dynamics SL screens. The Dynamics SL screens, we consider them what we call them the rich client. This is kind of a client module. I mean, it's the idea of that getting into a Microsoft Dynamics SL screen by opening up the Dynamics SL menu and getting to a specific screen. So it is requiring you to log in. And one that we'll be working on with the SL 2015 release is also a web client, which allows you similar idea to a rich client where you're usually on a desktop logging in, but a web client will allow you to do similar things, but again, you don't need to be on a desktop to access it. So with that, you have that power of choice. How do you want to deploy it? How do you want to access it? And we're continuing to add more areas around that. So with that, we've gone through Module 1 just to kind of give you that overview of Microsoft Dynamics SL. We talked about the overview of Dynamics SL. We went through some of the modules, actually all the modules, just to kind of give you a flavor of just some of the things that are out there. We talked about integrations, how we connect with different products in the Microsoft area and how we can connect with them and what the benefits of them are. The next was we talked about sharing information, how we share information to other people, whether it's our quick query or our business analyzer area. We talked about multi-company and the fact that we support it and the ease of moving in between. And then lastly, we talked about deployments, that way that you can deploy the product the way that fits best for your company. So that's the end of Module 1, Microsoft Dynamics SL Overview. We've given you the basic information around how the product works. And then we look forward to talking to you next in the Module 2, where we'll actually get into the screens and show you how some of them work.